Hi guys, today I'm gonna talk about file system in Linux. I'm gonna show it to you in couple of ways. So let's get started. First thing I wanna do is get to my terminal and type in ls space slash. Now you need to understand what this slash means. Slash is the root of all file system. Linux does not support letters for files, not names for volumes, just this slash. So everything belongs under this root directory. So this is the whole universe when it comes to files in your Linux system. So let's press enter and see what belongs under this root directory. So now you can see that these are the blue colored directories and rest are the other files to other links. Let's check this out under the GUI. So now you can see that there are a couple of files present in here. So let's talk about them one by one. Now let's see what this bin means. Bin stands for binary and it is where all of your programs under the Linux live. Now let's talk about it etc. Don't confuse it with etc. It's pronounced as etc, where all of your configuration files for different system programs and utilities is. Now this boot is an essential directory where all of the boot files live. That's actually where the operating system itself is in the boot directory. That's the kernel, which is the operating system, and that's all of the boot files including the configuration files. Now CD-ROM is actually a mount point. If I was to put a CD in, it would actually mount to this location in the file system. So it would just join the file system into this folder right here. Now dev stands for devices, where all of your devices are. In Linux, every device gets its own file. It looks like a file when it interacts with it through a file explorer. It's really more of a pseudo file because it doesn't really exist as a file within the file system. It's the pseudo file which the operating system puts there so that you can directly interact with devices. Now this home directory is where all of the home directories are for different users. So let's take an example. I have two users working under it. First is my own and another is for another person working on this system. So there are two directories present in here. Now lib stands for libraries, which contains different set of code that may get pulled in by a program. Thinking of Windows DLL, Linux does not use DLL but use something similar to those which exist here. Now lib64 is where 64-bit libraries are, and similarly lib32 is where 32-bit library stands. Now let's talk about media. Media is like if we were to put a USB stick, it would mount in the media directory. That is my home directory, and in it the PRF folder to connect to the host directory. MNT stands for mount, where removable drives are mounted, or just mount anything you have. Opt is where optional softwares are installed. Now let's talk about proc. Proc stands for processor related data, pseudo directory in the file system which does really exist. Every process gets its own directory here with the process ID. Root is the home directory. Run is where temporary data gets stored. And let's talk about sbin. Sbin is for the system binaries or system programs. SRV is basically for servers. They'll store data in it if you have any. Only some particular type of server are located here. Now sys is for the system data, which are actually the pseudo files. TMP stands for temporary files, where SWAT files are stored. It is a temporary directory. If there is something temporary, you can put it over here. USR stands for user data. This is where you put user related programs. where now this directory is really very important. It stands for variable data. It is important because it is a log for Linux, and Unix have pretty expensive logging. If you ever run a problem, you have to look into log directory. It is stored there because it's of variable length. For most of the part, you're gonna see this no matter which Linux distribution you're gonna be using. So this was all about file system. If this video was useful to you, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you.